Okay, we're moving on to dividing by hundreds. Now, the only thing that's going to be different about this lesson is our divisor, or the number we divide into our dividend, is going to have probably one more spot to move our decimal point over. So there will be a slight change to that. Because of that fact, I'd like to skip over the warm-up we have here, and I'd like us to go right into the lesson on page 363. So if you're listening to this video from home, you always have the option to pause the video or rewind if I went too fast on something, because I tend to go a little fast when I'm doing the lessons as I record them. All right, so on page 363, we have a problem like this. So Fiona has $1.20 with which to buy some ribbon. The ribbon's on sale for 8 cents per foot. How many feet of ribbon can Fiona buy? Now, when we work with money, you're always working with decimal points, even though you may not have even thought about it until now. So this $1.20 is actually 1 in 20 hundredths. And when we're dividing by 8 cents, we're actually dividing by 8 hundredths. So there's that one problem. Remember, our first number here when we have a division problem is the one that goes here. And then what is being divided by is our divisor. And that'll go right out here. Okay. So for these, when you have the problem set up this way, you have to look outside here and see how many times you can move your decimal over in your divisor. So basically, we can move it over 2 jumps. And this one, we also have to move this over too. Now, however many you do it outside in the divisor, you have to do on the dividend. So next to it, let's rewrite the problem. Our 8 hundredths is now 8, and our 1 in 20 hundredths is now 120. So now we just do regular division. We don't have any decimals to deal with now. We've got everything set up for us. So our 8, we have to check, see if it goes into 1. It doesn't. Then we see if 8 can go into 12. It goes in once. And 12 minus 8 is 4. Bring down our 0. 8 goes into 40 5 times. And we have a remainder of 0. So it says, how many feet of ribbon can Fiona buy? She could buy 15 feet. Okay. Go ahead and turn the page. And what we have here is a bar model to show us how we're doing this. So you can picture the division problem using a bar model like here on this. And you know the total amount of money, which is $1.20 in red, and the size of one group, which is 8 cents. You do not know the number of groups. So like we don't know how many of these groups here we can actually do. So that's how a bar model would work. You also can kind of do what we did. You can use place value reasoning to relate dividing the decimals to dividing with whole numbers. For example, we took 8 tenths, or 8 hundredths, excuse me, and we changed it to 8 by moving our decimal. We took 1 in 20 hundredths, and we moved that decimal twice to give us 120 1 in 120 hundredths. So, which is why we ended up here with 15 feet. So that's a more common way to do it. Modeling works, but it's not really practical. Let's look at the notes on the following page. So look at picture it. What are you trying to find in this problem? For the picture it part with the bar model, we're trying to find the number of groups of 8 hundredths. What operation will solve this problem and how do we know? Obviously, it's going to be division. And you can divide to find the number of groups. Number 3, look at model it. So model it is where kind of the method we used. Explain by why 1 in 20 hundredths is 120 hundredths. Because one whole, that equals, that equals 100 hundredths. And then this part, the 20 hundredths, that equals literally 20 hundredths. So the grand total of those together is 120. Number 4, how many feet of ribbon can Fiona buy? 15 feet. And I don't think it's really necessary for us to explain why, because we knew what we're doing there. Check your answer using the decimals in a multiplication equation. So again, checking division with multiplication is something I recommend if you have the chance to. So we know if we take our answer, which is 15 feet, and we multiply it by our divisor, we know that we'll get $1.20, and know that that works out. Number 6, explain how to divide by decimal in hundredths. You would write both numbers as hundredths. And then you would divide as whole numbers. Sorry about my writing. They don't give me as much space as you have in your book there. Okay. Go ahead and cross off 7, and you can turn the page. All right, let's look at our 3 examples. Ask how many quarters are in a jar of quarters worth $9.75. First things first, we know a quarter is worth 0.25. Like that is literally, when you look at price of things, the cents part of your money is decimals. And so everything to the right is your cents, everything to the left of the decimal is your dollars. So I want to split these workspaces up into 2 parts. So the dividend, or what's being divided, is the $9.75. And that's being divided in groups of 25. So we'll put 9.75 here and 25 cents right here. So this is where we move these over 2 spots to make that a whole number. We move this over 2 spots to make that a whole number. So let's take everything we have here. We have 25 as our divisor, 975 as our dividend. This is where we've got to try to guess and check. First of all, we know 25 does not go into 9, so put an X up there. We want to see how many 25s go into 97. So I generally, for the sake of time, I'm just going to try different numbers here. Let's try 5 and see what I get out of that. I got 25, got 10. That gives me 125. So that's too big. That's bigger than what we need here. Let's try 4. And that gives me 100. So I'm just slightly above the 97. So it must be 3. So let's try that. And that gives me 75. So I'll put that up here. I'll do my subtraction. 7 minus 5 is 2. 9 minus 7 is 2. Bring down my 5. I know 25 times 10 is 250. 225 is close to there, so let's try 25 times 9. That gives me 225. And with no remainder, I know that that's it. So I know how many quarters in the jar? 39 quarters. All right, let's move on to the next question. What is 16 divided by 16 hundredths? All right, so let's split this up. 16 divided by 1600ths. Now, some kids might think it's 1 because they'll see a 16 and a 16. For example, this 16 is here, and then we have 1600ths on the outside. Quite often what kids will do is they'll move this decimal point over to create 16, and then they'll stop. But however many times you jump your divisor, you have to do the same out here. So I've got to jump over 2 for this one. So what you really end up with is 1,600 and then 16 outside here. 16 doesn't go into 1, it goes into 16 once. Gives us a 0. We can't stop. Even though I have 0 here, we need these 2 zeros we need to deal with first. 16 goes into 0 0 times. Bring down another 0. 16 goes into 0 0 times. And our answer is 100. So 16 divided by 1600ths is 100. And this last one, we don't actually have to solve it. We just have to kind of set it up. It says, which division expression can be used to find the quotient 17 and 6/10 and divided by 400ths? Well, let's set this up. 17 and 6/10 divided by 400ths. This first number is our dividend, 17 and 6/10. This other number, 0.04, that's our divisor. So we go 2 spots over to change that to a whole number. We've got to move this 2. We move once and we run out of numbers. That's because we have to go one more time and put a 0 here. So this becomes 4, and this becomes 1,760. Or we know this as 1,760 divided by 4, which is letter D. Okay. So that's it for your notes. Your homework assignment is going to be J11, divide by decimals without adding zeros. A lot of your answers are probably going to be whole numbers. Your quotient will be whole numbers, but you will have to shift your decimal points for both the divisor and the dividend, just like we did with our lesson today. But if you have any questions, reach out to me and ask, and I'll try to help you the best I can.